All right, let's talk plant physiology. And look, I get it, you might be thinking, biology? Really? But I want you to reframe this. Don't think of a plant as just an organism. I want you to see it as a silent, incredibly efficient, strategic machine. Seriously, this isn't just a science lesson. It's a master class in logistics, in resource management and command and control. These are core principles every single officer needs to master.
So here's our mission briefing for this explainer. We're going to break down 5 key operational systems. First, the plant's core mission. Then, its logistics network. Third, its energy factories. After that, its growth and control systems. And finally, how it guarantees the next generation. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, we have to start with the core objective. You can think of it as the commander's intent that drives every single process in a plant, survival and reproduction. This is the why behind literally everything else we are about to cover. And why should this matter to you for your exam? Well, listen up. In the 2015 NDA paper alone, 5 questions came directly from this chapter. And guess what they focused on? Photosynthesis, hormones, and reproduction. The exact strategic systems we're breaking down today. This stuff is a high-yield target. You've got to know it.
All right, let's move on to the plant's internal logistics. Because, any operation, any mission depends on its supply lines. We're about to see how a plant masterfully manages the transport of water, minerals, and its main fuel source, food.
Now, check out the clear division of labor here. It's a key principle of any effective force, right? You've got the xylem. Think of it as a dedicated one-way pipeline, just moving raw materials up from the base. Simple. But then you have the phloem. That's the sophisticated distribution network. It's moving the energy packets, the sugars, from the factory to every single unit that needs fuel. So, you might be wondering, how does that xylem pipeline move water up against gravity without a pump? Well, the engine that drives the whole thing is a process called transpiration. As water evaporates from the leaves, it creates this incredibly powerful suction that literally pulls the entire supply chain upward.
Way back in 1926, a scientist named Curtis gave it this famous nickname, a necessary evil. Why? Well, because the plant loses something like 90% of the water it absorbs this way. That is a huge logistical cost. But here's the kicker. It's necessary because that very same loss of water is precisely what powers the entire supply system.
This whole process is called the ascent of sap. That evaporation creates a tension, a pull, that yanks the entire unbroken column of water all the way up from the roots. It's a completely passive system, but it's incredibly powerful. We're talking maximum efficiency with zero energy spent. It's brilliant.
Every machine, every military operation runs on energy. So where does the plant get its power? It's time to look at its energy factories to see exactly how it makes and uses its own high-energy fuel.
The absolute heart of the energy factory is photosynthesis. Now, this is what we call an anabolic, or building up, process. It takes simple, solar energy and converts it into complex chemical fuel. And get this. This one single process doesn't just power the plant. It's the foundation of pretty much every food chain on this planet.
Now, this equation, this is the blueprint for the entire operation, and it's one you're going to want to remember. On the left, you've got your raw materials, carbon dioxide and water. On the right, the mission-critical products, glucose for energy, and, the oxygen that we all happen to breathe.
The manufacturing process happens in 2 stages. First, you have the light reaction. This acts like a power generator. It captures sunlight to create these tiny, fully charged battery packs called ATP and NADPH. Then, stage 2, the dark reaction, uses the energy from those battery packs to power the assembly line, building the final product, sugar.
Okay, so if photosynthesis is the factory making the fuel, then respiration is the engine burning that fuel. This is a catabolic or breaking down process. The plant takes the glucose it just made, combines it with oxygen, and boom, it releases all that stored chemical energy as ATP to power everything it does.
All right, now we move to command and control. See, a plant isn't static. It doesn't just grow blindly. It has a really sophisticated system to regulate its own development and respond to its environment in real time.
A plant's growth, kind of like a lot of strategic campaigns, isn't just a straight line up. Nope, it follows a predictable pattern called a sigmoid or S-shaped curve. And that curve is broken down into 3 very distinct phases of operation.
First up is the lag phase.
Think of this as the establishment period, with slow initial growth. It's followed by the log phase, a period of rapid exponential expansion when all the resources are there. And finally, as resources get limited, or the objective is met, it enters the stationary phase. This is where growth slows down and stabilizes at maturity.
So what's actually directing all this growth? Chemical signals. These 5 major types of plant hormones are the plant's command and control network, and you can basically split them into 2 groups. You have your growth promoters, like auxins and gibberellins. Those are the go signals. And then you have your growth inhibitors, like abscisic acid and ethylene. These are the stop or change mission signals, handling things like stress, dormancy, and aging. And that brings us to the final, and you could argue the most important part of the plant's entire strategy, its legacy protocol. Because the ultimate objective of any successful operation is to ensure continuation. And for a plant, that means reproduction. Now here is a key tactical concept you absolutely must know for the exam: double fertilization. It's the super efficient system you only find in flowering plants. 2 things happen at once. One fusion event fertilizes the egg to create the future plant. The second one creates the endosperm. That's the nutrient supply for the embryo. What does this do? It makes sure that energy-rich food is only produced after fertilization is confirmed. Absolutely no wasted resources.
And to get pollination done, to deliver the male gametes, plants use all kinds of different strategies. They've basically recruited various agents to act as couriers. We're talking wind, insects, birds, even bats. And each method has its own tactical advantage, depending on the battlefield, on the environment.
So, think about this for a second. After the mission is complete, after fertilization is a success, the reproductive parts themselves, they transform. They don't just wither away. No, they get repurposed for the next phase of the operation. So what do you think they become?
And here it is, the transformation. The ovary matures and becomes the fruit, and the ovule that was inside it, that becomes the seed. The fruit basically acts as a protective vessel and a dispersal mechanism, making sure the next generation is safely transported to a new location to begin its own mission.
So, to wrap it all up, when you really look at a plant through this strategic lens, what you're seeing is a masterclass in operational design. From its supply lines and its energy factories to its command systems and legacy protocols, every single part is perfectly integrated. It's a silent, efficient, and relentless machine, and it's built for one purpose: survival. I'm going to leave you with this final thought for your own strategic development. The principles that make a plant so successful: passive energy use, perfect resource allocation, clear command signals, these are universal principles. I want you to study them, understand them, because the lessons from this biological machine go way beyond the exam hall. They apply directly to any tactical situation where efficiency and survival are absolutely paramount.